one and all. Welcome to Step Ahead with Ernie Rivera. I am your host, Ernie Rivera, and we are going to switch things up today as I am coming off the end of a cold I've had for the past couple of weeks. It's really been kicking my butt for the past week, so I'm coming out of it, and I'm really trying to switch things up right now. I know normally I talk finance, I talk a little bit about stocks, a little bit about crypto on the show. We're going to switch things up. I'm going to get back to my roots and talk the entertainment industry, its history, and how things have developed over the years. Now, it's kind of funny. As I've been coming off this cold, I've been thinking a lot about my past work, and I went to my IMDb recently where I saw that a movie I worked on right before the lockdown got released. It's called If She Screams. It's a horror movie called If She Screams, and it got me thinking about a few things. So a couple things I worked on before, like right before the lockdown. I worked on HBO's Perry Mason. I worked on Voodoo Macbeth, which is a really awesome movie. I recommend you check it out. I worked on The Ball Method, which talks about this person's attempt to end leprosy, to come up with a cure for leprosy. And I worked on If She Screams, which I still haven't seen yet. I'm excited to watch it tonight. So check them out if you haven't had a chance. Now let's get to the whole thing. So it got me thinking about my past, so I started thinking about the entertainment industry in general. And we're going to give you this episode right now. It's going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I'm doing all this from memory. Let's see how it works out. If you have any corrections or comments, please leave them in the comment section. I look forward to reading them. So here's the thing. There was a man born in the 1800s named Konstantin Stanislavski, and he developed what was called the Stanislavski system in the early 1900s. The Stanislavski system was an attempt to modernize acting. Before, you were involved in something called play acting, where you kind of pretended the part, like, oh, I'm so tired, or I'm excited, and stuff like that. But his system was an attempt to make acting more natural, which really led the way for theater to take off in the early 1900s in the East Coast of the United States. So theater's taking off in the early 1900s. It's you have the whole Broadway system set up, and you also have a man named Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, he did not invent the film camera, but what he did do is he patented a lot of the devices used with the film industry. And so if anyone in the early 1900s wanted to make a movie, they had to go to old Tommy Edison. So people eventually did not like that because, one, they had to ask permission, and two, they had to I'm sure pay quite a bit of money. So they said, well, he does own the patents. How do we get away with not giving him money for this stuff? And they started the first ever film industry pirate movement by moving to the West Coast. They were making their way across the country, moving west, and I think it was something like I forget the exact year, but it was in the early 1900s. They were stopped somewhere in the Southwest where they were going to set up shop for what was then going to be their version of Hollywood. Now, even though they usually have very warm weather in that area, to the best of my memory, there was a snowstorm or something like that, which made them second guess stopping and setting up shop there. So they kept on moving west until they got to California. They were in California. They set up shop in Hollywood, California. Hollywood started in about 1915. You had a lot of people who were starting companies out there making movies, silent movies, of course, because, well, talkies didn't exist yet, so everyone was making these silent movies, which were really, really awesome. Besides California, there were a lot of really excellent companies out of Germany that were making silent movies. If you've ever gone to film school, I'm sure you've seen Nosferatu. Really amazing movie. Check it out. It's really dope. So they were making silent movies throughout the early 1900s into the 1920s, and to the best of my knowledge, it was 1929 when the first talkie came out. It was a Disney picture, if I'm not incorrect. Am I incorrect? No, I don't know, but I think it was a Disney picture by the name of the jazz singer, starring I will get back to his name. I forgot it. Al Jolson. Al Jolson. So it was starring Al Jolson, and it was the first ever talkie in 1929. So we get into the 1930s, and we're starting to colorize film very popularly with The Wizard of Oz. It was really a game changer for how film was being done. It started off in black and white, and as you got to Oz, of course, everything went to color. Besides that, there were a lot of amazing plays that were coming out of this era. A lot of it was due to unionization, and the idea was that they were starting a lot of plays about the working man's problems. Very popularly, they started a play called Waiting for Lefty, and the appeal of this play was that you can do Waiting for Lefty in basically any union hall, any actual theater, because of the setup. It was a really cool idea. A lot of really amazing plays came out of the 1930s. You had Golden Boy, you had Waiting for Lefty, you had Long Day's Journey into Night. You had a lot of really great plays. I hope that if you cannot see them performed, or if you cannot find a movie version of it, that you read the plays, because they're really amazing. So separate from that, you had the colorization of film in the 1930s. We're getting into the 1940s, and in the 1940s, you had the in the 1940s, you had the formation of the Actors Studio by disciples of Stanislavski, including Lee Strasberg. Lee Strasberg, for many of you who do not know acting scene too much, but maybe you know certain things, you will know that he started the Actors Studio, which became a school. I believe it's associated with the New School in New York now, and it's separate from that, it was a television show called The Actors Studio. There was an association with the school, and separate from that, it he started the Actors Studio, which was a really cool program, really cool school, and he started it with disciples of Stanislavski. A lot of you may know him. If you don't know him from the Actors Studio, might know him from The Godfather 2. He played Hyman Roth, who was living out in Cuba and was making deals with Michael Corleone. Now, a lot of great artists came out of the Actors Studio, but as we get into the 1950s, we're getting into television, and television changes things in a lot of ways. But you have to understand that television really wasn't like a thing in the 1950s. I mean, it was and it wasn't. So here's the thing. So people were still doing film. And when you couldn't make a film, you had these things called double features, where you showed two movies in a row. You couldn't make it in like the number one films, then you'd be in the second, the backup film in the lineup. You'd be in the second film. Lucille Ball, very famously, was the queen of the second film. She was in the second film a lot. She just couldn't make it as a Hollywood actress in the number one films. Now that's very, a lot of you might find that funny, because she's so famous. I Love Lucy and Desi. Well, again, it was in the 1950s she made the journey to television with her partner, her husband, Desi Arnaz. And again, television was a place where film stars went to die. That wasn't really considered like a big thing in the 50s, until I Love Lucy changed it all. They really revolutionized it. They breathed life into television, gave us the industry that we now know, the television industry. So we're getting into the 1960s, and we still have all of this production code, which makes it really hard for you to film anything that's not completely it's very sanitized, everything in the 1960s still. Real quick, I need to get back to the 1950s, because in the 1950s I almost forgot, and I don't know how I could have forgotten this, but they were trying to out communists in the 1950s, and there were communist witch hunts where people would say that person's communist, that person's communist, and they would try to get them out of the entertainment industry, whether they were communists or not. Look it up. It's really intense stuff that was going on in the 1950s. Hi friends, family. I still have a lot more to say, so I'm breaking this video up. This is going to be part 1, and we're going to have part 2 coming out tomorrow. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. Please click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's been fantastic. I will see you all soon. Peace.